Reea. I'm a life and relationship coach and a therapist, and today I'm talking about anxiety. Have you noticed that every second person seems to have anxiety now? It's like a virus reaching epidemic proportions on our planet. And so let's talk about that. I have a question for you. Do you know why you get anxious? Do you know what triggers you? Do you know what the cause of your anxiety is? These are really important questions to ask yourself, and to help you out today, I've got 6 major reasons you might be anxious. Okay, reason number 1. Some drugs can cause feelings of anxiety. We all know that if we have too much caffeine, that can make us anxious. On the downside of having had too much alcohol or even smoking too much weed, you can get anxious, but there are other pharmaceutical drugs that cause anxiety too, such as corticosteroids, some asthma medications, some thyroid medications, and you can also get anxiety, of course, when you're in withdrawal from drugs or alcohol. So drugs is the first one. The second cause of anxiety that you need to consider is food. So not everybody can eat the same diet, okay? We all need to eat the diet that's right for our body. If your diet is really low in carbohydrates, maybe you're on a ketogenic diet, you need to consider that that may be causing you to feel anxiety. Sometimes when we don't have enough carbs, we feel anxious. Reason number 3, mental disorders. We have to discuss this one. So sometimes anxiety is comorbid or a symptom of other mental disorders such as borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, psychosis, schizophrenia, things like that. So sometimes anxiety can be a symptom of a much larger problem. Number 4 would be lifestyle. Now, if you legitimately live in a stressful place, you have a stressful life, you might be living somewhere that's fearful. A lot of people live places in the world that they can't walk outside their front door because there's scary stuff happening out there. I'm in Australia. We don't have to do that here. I can't think of any place in Australia that's really scary in the daytime, maybe at night, but not in the daytime. But, you know, you could be living somewhere that's stressful. You could be walking on eggshells around somebody who is themselves angry, anxious, narcissistic, psychopathic, moody, you know, any of those reasons. So you could be legitimately living in a stressful situation which is making you anxious. And that's good to know, isn't it? Because there's an easy solution. Get out of there. Number 5 cause of anxiety is growing up with a parent who is anxious. Now, I see this a lot. This is one of the main reasons why people exhibit anxiety in their adult life. If you've grown up with a parent who is anxious, they are unconsciously communicating to you that the world is not a safe place, that you are not safe. And if your parent doesn't think they're safe, and you're a little person and you're relying on that parent to keep you safe, it's going to make you anxious. Perhaps you had a parent that had OCD, you know, obsessive compulsive disorder. You could have had a parent who was a helicopter parent, always worrying about you. The archetypal worrying mother causes anxiety in her children unknowingly. So in some cultures, a mother believes she is doing the right thing by her children by worrying about them. You know, I'm thinking of a lot of Greek, Asian, European countries where, you know, the worrying mother is kind of a meme that we laugh about. But if you've had a really worrying mother that's constantly saying to you, oh, you're not safe. Have you got your jumper? Have you got enough money? Be careful who you talk to every time you step outside the door. Then that's going to cause anxiety in the child, okay? So a parent who is very anxious may very well teach you to be anxious. You may have learned an anxious response to the world unknowingly because everything that you observe your parents doing just goes in and programs your unconscious mind. You know, we say children are like little sponges. They're in a deep state of trance until they're 6. They're actually in theta brainwave state until they're 6. And then from the age of 6 to 12, they're still in alpha brainwave state, which is a state of trance, okay? And so everything goes in and programs their mind. And that's why we say kids are like sponges. Little kids are like sponges. They suck everything up. But they also suck up the atmosphere around them. They also suck up the patterns of behaviour from their parents. That's how we learn to be adults. So if your pattern of behaviour was an anxious parent, that may well be causing your anxiety. Number 6 is another big reason for anxiety, and that is childhood trauma. You may have complex post-traumatic stress disorder from what happened to you when you were a child. So if you observed or experienced violence in your home, if you were physically, emotionally, psychologically, or sexually abused, if your parents had drug and alcohol issues, or if you were emotionally neglected, all of that sets up an anxious response in the child. Children can become hypervigilant when they're in scary environments. You know, they have to notice everything that's going on around them, and they have to make everything okay around them, otherwise they're not safe. So to a child, growing up in a scary environment is just like growing up in a war zone. You are literally in a war zone, and you get post-traumatic stress disorder. And then that can continue with you throughout your life unless you address the core issue of the problem, which is the childhood trauma. And one of the symptoms that it's very common for children of childhood trauma or adults that had childhood trauma to exhibit is anxiety. So if that was you, the good news is there's lots you can do about it. You can heal childhood trauma. And if you're interested, I'm going to suggest a book to read, and that would be Pete Walker's book, From Surviving to Thriving, Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. Get that book and have a look at it. It's a really good read, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do to help yourself heal from your childhood trauma. I hope you enjoyed my video today. I answer all comments, so please leave me a comment. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this one.